I am innocent, officer. My friend, keep quiet. You're a criminal.
The gate made a low metal sound as Ken locked it behind him, and that sound followed him into the darkness like a warning he did not understand. It was past 10 p.m., the kind of time when good people stayed indoors and only fear walked freely. The night air touched his skin and made him shiver, but it was not cold, it was worry. His baby's crying was still ringing in his ears, loud, sharp, painful. He stood for a short moment inside the compound, breathing deeply, holding the small money tightly in his palm like it could disappear. Just a few minutes ago, he was inside the house, watching his wife struggle to sit upright on the bed, watching his baby refuse food again and again. He did not want to go out, but he had no choice. Hunger does not listen to fear. A crying baby does not understand excuses. Ken pulled his slippers forward and stepped into the street, the gate now behind him, his house silent, his family waiting without knowing that this simple walk would change everything. The street was dark, too dark, with only weak lights far away that looked like tired eyes trying to stay open. Every step he took felt heavy, like the ground was pulling him back. He told himself it would be fast, just pop, then home. He did not know that danger had already chosen him before he even reached the next junction. Ken walked slowly, his head full of thoughts that would not stop. He remembered when this same road used to feel safe, when night walks meant nothing to him because he had a car, a driver, money, and peace. Now every sound made him alert. A dog barked far away, and his heart jumped. A door closed somewhere, and he turned quickly. He adjusted his shirt and wiped sweat from his face, even though the night was cool. His mind went back to Alice on the bed, weak and pale, forcing a smile so he would not feel bad. Her sickness had stayed too long, like an unwanted guest that refused to leave. Hospitals, drugs, tests, money gone, hope shaking. He lost his job because he could not keep up. He sold his cars one after the other. The houseworkers left quietly when salaries stopped coming. Friends stopped calling. Now it was just him, his sick wife, and a baby who depended on him for everything. As he walked, he did not see the shadows moving in another part of the street. Fast shadows running, breathing hard, chased by louder shadows with flashing lights and angry voices. He did not hear the shouts yet. He only heard his own footsteps and his own thoughts. He was just a man going to buy pap, nothing more. The moment everything changed came without warning. A bright light suddenly hit Ken's face so hard that his eyes closed by force. Before he could speak or move, a strong hand grabbed his shoulder from behind, another from the side, and his body was pushed forward. "On your knees!" a loud voice shouted, sharp and full of anger. Ken fell to the ground in confusion, his knees hitting the hard road, pain shooting up his legs. Dust entered his mouth and nose. His heart beat wildly like it wanted to escape his chest. He lifted his hands slowly, shaking, his mind empty. What is happening?" he asked, his voice small and weak. "God has caught you today," the voice said again. "So you think you can run?" Ken looked up with fear and confusion written clearly on his face. Run from what? Who? Another slap landed on his face before he could finish the thought, his head turning sharply, his ears ringing. "Please," he cried, "you are making a mistake. I'm only going to buy pap for my baby." His words did not slow them down. More lights surrounded him, more voices, more anger. Someone kicked his back and he cried out in pain. You robbers think we don't know your tricks? Another voice said. Ken's heart broke inside him. Robbers? He tried to explain, tried to speak, tried to make them understand. But every word he said brought another slap, another hit, another shout to shut up. They pulled him up roughly and searched his pockets like he was nothing. The small money he carried fell to the ground. See money here, someone said. Ken shook his head violently. That's for food, please. That's all I have. His voice cracked as tears filled his eyes. He thought of Alice. He thought of the baby crying again. He thought of how unfair this was. Suddenly, shouting came from far away, louder and faster, and the men around him became tense. The others are escaping, someone yelled. Anger grew thicker in the air. They turned back to Ken like he was the reason. One heavy blow landed on his stomach, knocking the air out of him. He bent forward, gasping, pain burning inside him like fire. They dragged him across the road without care. His slippers slipped off his feet and stayed behind. His phone quietly fell from his pocket and landed on the ground, screen facing the sky, unseen by him. Blood started dripping slowly from his nose onto his shirt, warm and frightening. He kept begging, his voice breaking more and more. Please. My wife is sick. My baby is alone at home. The words meant nothing to them. They pushed him toward a waiting vehicle, like he was an animal. Enter, they shouted, and he was thrown inside. The door slammed shut, cutting off his voice, his light, and his hope. Inside the vehicle, Ken sat shaking in the darkness, his body hurting in places he could not even touch. His heart was racing, his mind spinning, fear wrapping around him tightly. He did not know where they were taking him. He did not know how long it would take. He did not know if he would come back alive. All he could think of was his house, the locked gate, the sick woman on the bed, and the baby who would wake up crying again. The vehicle moved, the sound of the engine drowning his silent sobs. Outside, the night continued like nothing happened. Back at home, time moved slowly and painfully. Alice watched the door again and again. The baby cried, and she forced herself to sit up, pain shooting through her body like knives. She fed the baby again with shaking hands until the baby finally slept. But peace did not come. Ken was not back. Her heart started to beat fast. She reached for her phone and dialed his number. It rang. No answer. She dialed again. Still nothing. Fear entered her chest and refused to leave. She kept calling, her hands shaking, tears dropping onto the screen. Unknown to her, Ken's phone was lying alone on the cold road, silent now, surrounded by darkness. Alice sat on the bed all night, calling and praying, waiting for footsteps that never came, as the sky slowly changed color outside, and a new day began without Ken. Morning came slowly, but it did not bring peace. The sun rose like it always did, shining on the same houses, the same road, the same gate Ken locked the night before. But inside the house, everything felt wrong. Alice did not sleep. She sat on the bed all night, holding her phone, dialing Ken's number again and again until her fingers became weak. Each time the call rang without answer, her heart sank deeper. When the sky finally became bright, fear sat fully in her chest. Ken had never stayed out all night without telling her. Never. Even on his worst days, he always came back. Alice tried to stand, but her body shook. She sat back down and wiped sweat from her face. Her baby woke up and cried softly, tired from crying all night too. Alice carried her on her back with difficulty and tried Ken's number again. Still nothing. Her hands trembled as she scrolled through her phone. Then she stopped at a name she had never wanted to call. Ken's elder brother. Her heart beat fast. She did not want to trouble him, but fear was now stronger than pride. With shaking hands, she pressed the call button. It rang once, twice. Then he picked. Alice's voice came out broken as she explained that Ken left the house the night before to buy pap and never returned. There was silence on the other end. Then his brother said he would come. Ken's elder brother arrived later that morning, his face serious, his steps heavy. He stood inside the compound and looked around like someone searching for answers on the walls. Alice explained everything again, slowly, carefully, her voice shaking as she talked about the crying baby, the pap, the night, and how Ken never came back. She watched his face closely, hoping to see concern, comfort, or hope. He listened without saying much. When she finished, he nodded once and said they would search. He left the house and did not return till evening. The sun moved across the sky while Alice waited. Every sound outside made her heart jump. Every footstep made her hope rise, only to fall again. When he finally returned, his face was hard. He said they had gone everywhere. Hospitals, streets, stations, people. No sign of Ken. No one had seen him. No one knew anything. As those words entered Alice's ears, her body reacted before her mind could. Sweat poured from her face. Her stomach began to rumble and twist painfully. She held her waist and bent forward slightly, breathing hard. Fear mixed with pain and confusion. "What does that mean?" she asked weakly. But Ken's brother did not answer. He just shook his head and walked out, leaving silence behind him. That night, Alice cried until there were no tears left. She held her baby tightly, whispering promises she did not know how to keep. While Alice waited and suffered, Ken was alive, but his world had become a cage. In the dark cell, time had lost meaning. Days blended into nights. Ken held the cold metal bars with both hands like they were the only thing keeping him standing. His eyes were red from crying, his body thin, his clothes dirty. Every day, he begged. "Please," he cried to the officers who passed. "I have a sick wife. I have a baby. Please allow me call my wife." His voice shook, sometimes loud, sometimes weak. Sometimes he knelt. Sometimes he held the bars until his hands hurt. But no one listened. Some walked past like he was invisible. Some looked at him with empty eyes. Some laughed quietly. Each time he heard footsteps, hope rose in his chest, only to die again. He thought of Alice every minute. He imagined her sitting on the bed, calling his phone, waiting for him. The thought broke him again and again. At night, when other people slept, Ken cried softly so no one would hear. He prayed. He begged God. He promised everything. He just wanted one call, one chance to tell her he was alive. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Outside, life moved on without Ken. Inside the house, things slowly fell apart. Money finished completely. Food became scarce. Alice's sickness grew worse. Some days, she could not even stand. Neighbors came at first, asking questions, bringing small help. Later, they stopped coming. People get tired of other people's pain. The baby grew, but not strong. Alice did everything she could, but her body was failing her. 3 months passed like a slow death. One morning, Ken's elder brother came again, this time with a different face, hard, cold. He told Alice she had to leave, that the house was no longer hers. that Ken was gone. Alice looked at him like she did not understand the words. She begged him to wait. She said Ken would come back. She said she believed it. He laughed loudly, a laugh without kindness. He told her that if Ken wanted to return, he would have returned, that no man disappears for 3 months without reason, that Ken was surely dead and buried somewhere. Those words hit Alice like stones. Dead, buried, somewhere. He said the house now belonged to him, that she and her baby should go. That evening, Alice sat by the gate with her baby tied weakly on her back. Her small bags were beside her, containing everything left of her life. She was too weak to stand properly. Her body shook, her face pale, her eyes empty. Ken's elder brother stood over her, shouting that she should leave immediately, that she was no longer welcome. Alice looked up at him and pleaded with the last strength she had. "Please," she said softly, "allow me wait. Just a little. My husband will come back." He laughed again, louder this time. People gathered around, watching. No one spoke. No one helped. When he repeated that Ken was dead and the house was now his, something broke inside Alice. She opened her mouth to speak, to scream, to cry, but no sound came out. Her eyes widened, her body stiffened. The world spun. Then she fell forward slowly, her body giving up at last. People shouted. Someone rushed to her. Someone untied the baby from her back. But Alice did not move. She did not breathe. Her pain had finally taken her away. Days later, Alice was buried. The ground received her quietly. Tears were shed. A few people cried for her suffering. The baby was taken away by a distant relative. The house stood silent again, empty. Somewhere far away, behind cold bars, Ken still cried and begged, still alive, still hoping, still not knowing that his wife was gone, still believing that one day he would step out and go home. Weeks passed after Alice was buried, but Ken did not know. In his world, time had stopped moving normally. One morning, they brought him out of the cell and took him to court. His clothes hung loosely on his body. His eyes were sunken. His face showed suffering. When he stood before the judge, his legs shook. He looked around the room, hoping to see a familiar face. Hoping to see his wife, hoping to hear his name spoken with kindness. But all he saw were strangers. When they read the charge, Ken did not even fully understand the words. All he knew was that he was being blamed for something he never did. When it was his turn to speak, his voice broke. He cried openly in the court. "Please," he said again and again, "I am innocent. I was only going to buy pap for my baby. My wife was sick. I beg you, check my phone records, ask my neighbors." His words echoed in the room, but they fell on hard ground. No one listened. No one stood for him. No one asked further questions. The decision had already been made. When the sentence was read, Ken screamed. His knees gave way and he fell to the ground, crying like a child. Life imprisonment. The word sounded like the end of the world. He cried until his chest hurt. He called his wife's name. He called his baby's name. But there was no answer. They dragged him out and took him away. Far from the life he once knew. Far from hope. Far from home. Prison swallowed Ken slowly. Days became months. Months became years. The walls were high and cold. Nights were long and lonely. Ken learned how to survive pain by silence. He spoke less. He cried less. But inside, his heart never healed. Every night, he lay on the hard floor and thought of Alice. He imagined her waiting for him. He imagined his baby learning how to walk, calling him Daddy. He did not know that Alice was gone. That thought would have killed him completely. He held on to hope because it was the only thing keeping him alive. Sometimes he dreamed of standing in front of his house again. Sometimes he dreamed of buying pap and walking back through the gate. When he woke up, reality would hit him like cold water. Still, he survived. He told himself that one day the truth would come out. One day, someone would listen. One day, he would go home. Outside those walls, life continued. Ken and Alice's baby grew. Her name was Maya. She did not remember her parents' faces. All she knew were stories that were never fully told. She grew up in the house of a distant relative of her mother, a quiet man with a tired face and kind eyes. He did not have much money. Sometimes there was not enough food. Sometimes school fees came late. But he tried. He promised Alice before she was buried that he would take care of her child. And he kept that promise with everything he had. Maya grew into a calm and intelligent girl. She asked many questions. She wanted to know about her parents, about her father, about her mother. But each time she asked, her guardian would shake his head and change the topic. "You will understand when the time comes," he always said. Maya did not understand why, but she felt pain each time the answers were delayed. Still, she focused on her books. She studied hard. She believed education was her way out. Years passed quietly. Maya grew taller. Her eyes became sharp and observant. Her face carried a quiet sadness that never left her completely. She gained admission into the university to study law. When she received the news, her guardian cried. He had no money, but he vowed to do everything possible to see her through school. Maya studied with fire in her heart. She did not know why, but injustice always made her angry. Stories of innocent people suffering touched her deeply. She felt like her life was connected to pain she could not explain. On her 21st birthday, after years of silence, her guardian finally sat her down. His hands shook as he spoke. His voice broke as he told her everything. He told her about Ken, about the night he left to buy pap, about Alice's sickness, about the waiting, about the house, about the uncle, about her mother collapsing at the gate. Maya listened as tears rolled freely down her face. She cried loudly. She cried bitterly. Her heart felt like it was tearing apart. For the first time, her life made sense. For the first time, her anger had a name. After that day, Maya changed. She became quieter, but stronger. One afternoon, she asked her guardian for the address of her father's house. He hesitated, but finally gave it to her. She did not tell him what she planned to do. She dressed simply and went alone. When she arrived at the street, her heart beat fast. The road felt familiar, even though she had never walked it before. She stood across the street and stared. The house was beautiful. Fresh paint, new gate, clean compound. It looked like a place of joy, not pain. Tears filled her eyes. This was where her parents suffered. This was where her mother died in tears. She walked closer and stood in front of the gate. She bent down slowly and picked a pinch of sand from the ground. Her hands shook as she held it. "I will come back for what belongs to my father," she whispered through tears. "I promise." Just then, the gate opened. A man stepped out. He was older now, but strong. His eyes met hers. He looked confused. "Yes," he asked. "Who are you looking for?" Maya wiped her tears quickly. She studied his face carefully. Something about him felt familiar, but wrong. Her heart told her the truth before her mind accepted it. This was the man who took everything. She did not answer. She turned and walked away without a word. The man stood there, staring after her, a strange feeling in his chest. Neither of them knew that their paths had just crossed again. Maya graduated from law school on a bright morning that felt heavy and sweet at the same time. People clapped, cameras flashed, smiles were everywhere. But inside her heart, there was a quiet ache that never left her. She wore her gown proudly, thinking of her mother who never lived to see this day, and of the father she never truly knew. After graduation, Maya got a job working with a very reputable politician. It was a big office, big chairs, big people, important cases. Many people praised her intelligence and calm voice. They said she was born to be a lawyer. Maya worked hard, but each night, when she returned home, she still felt something was missing. Some stories she heard in court made her chest tight. Stories of innocent people. Stories of poor people blamed for things they did not do. Each time, her heart reacted like it remembered something her mind could not fully touch. One night, after a very long day, Maya slept deeply. In her dream, she saw a woman standing in a soft light. The woman's face was gentle but sad. Her eyes were full of love and pain at the same time. The woman spoke calmly and said, "Go to the prison. Go and listen to them. Hear why they were convicted." Maya wanted to ask who she was, but her mouth could not move. The woman looked at her for a long time, then slowly disappeared. Maya woke up suddenly, her heart beating fast. Sweat covered her body. She sat up and tried to understand the dream. It felt real, too real to ignore. She picked up her phone and called her guardian immediately. Her voice shook as she explained the dream. The old man listened quietly. When she finished, he sighed deeply and said, "If your heart is pushing you there, then go. Sometimes truth waits in places we avoid." The next week, Maya went to the prison. The heavy gate opened with a loud sound that made her heart sink. The air felt thick. The faces she saw were tired faces, broken faces, faces that had cried too much. She sat in a small room and asked to hear stories. One by one, prisoners came in. They spoke of hunger, of mistakes, of regret, of lies. Maya listened carefully. Sometimes she cried with them. Sometimes she held their hands. She felt their pain like it was her own. Then a man walked in. He was quiet, very quiet. He sat down slowly and kept his eyes on the floor. For a long time, he said nothing. Maya waited patiently. Finally, he lifted his head and spoke in a low voice. He said one night, he went out around 10 p.m. to buy pap for his baby because the baby was crying and refusing to eat. He said he left his sick wife at home and locked his gate, promising to return quickly. He said he never returned. He said he was arrested, beaten, accused, and convicted for something he never did. As the man spoke, Maya's heart began to beat wildly. Her hands became cold. The story sounded too familiar, too close. She swallowed hard and asked, "What is your name?" The man hesitated, then said softly, "Kennedy." Maya nodded slowly. Her guardian had always told her her father's name was Ken. Kennedy could be Ken. Her chest tightened. She asked again, her voice shaking now, "And your wife's name?" The man looked up and said, "Alice." Maya's world stopped. Her jaw dropped. Her eyes widened. Tears filled them instantly. "And your baby's name?" she whispered, almost afraid to hear the answer. "Is it Maya?" The man turned swiftly and stared at her like he had seen a ghost. His eyes searched her face. "How did you know?" he asked, his voice shaking. Maya could no longer hold herself. She stood up and cried, "Daddy." The man froze. "Maya?" he asked in disbelief. She ran to him and hugged him tightly. Father and daughter held each other and cried like children who had finally found home. Prison walls, pain, and years disappeared in that moment. They cried for a long time. Ken held her face with both hands, studying her like a miracle. "You're grown," he said through tears. "You're now a lawyer?" Maya nodded and smiled through her tears. "Yes, Daddy." Ken laughed softly and cried again. "Your mother," he said gently. "Your mother is the best woman in the world." Maya's smile faded. She looked away. Tears dropped again. "She was," she said softly. Ken frowned. "What do you mean?" he asked. Maya swallowed hard and told him what her guardian said, that her mother died when she was still a child, that she collapsed by the gate. The words had not even finished leaving her mouth when Ken screamed loudly. Pain tore out of him like fire. He cried her name again and again. The prison warders rushed in, thinking there was trouble. They pulled Ken away from Maya forcefully. "I will come back for you, Daddy," Maya screamed through tears as they dragged him away. Ken stretched his hands toward her until they disappeared behind the door. Maya did not waste time. She went straight to her guardian's house and told him everything. The old man sat down heavily, shocked beyond words. They prayed together and began to speak to everyone they knew. Influential people, lawyers, politicians. Maya told her boss everything. He listened carefully and promised to help. Things moved fast, very fast. Files were reopened, records were checked, questions were asked. Truth began to rise like light. In no time, Ken was released. When he stepped out of the prison gate, free at last, he fell to the ground and cried. Maya ran to him and held him. Life had returned to him. Ken went straight to the guardian's house and prostrated fully, crying and thanking him for taking care of Maya when he could not. Then they went to Alice's grave. Ken knelt there and cried like a broken man. He told her he was back. He told her their daughter was alive and strong. He told her he was sorry. Finally, they went to the house that was taken. As soon as Ken's elder brother saw him, his face turned pale. His body began to shake. He fell to his knees and begged for forgiveness. He confessed everything. He admitted that when they heard Ken was at the police station, he chose to lie to Alice, telling her that he couldn't find him because he wanted the house. "Officers," Maya said calmly. Officers who had been waiting outside walked in and arrested him immediately. Ken stood there in silence, holding Maya's hand. He took his house back. He hugged Maya and the guardian tightly and thanked them again and again. Pain had lasted long, but truth finally won. The gate that once closed in fear now opened in peace.